heart attack. Me.
Managers on a Major League Baseball team don't make decisions.
They're done without that.
Credibility in this situation is worse than losing your job.
Was it over with a Chinese bomb Pearl Harbor?
The castration of the Major League Baseball managers, we know it.
Ask me about my win.
What's going on, everybody? Another edition of the Passball Show. Today we're live at the RWJ Barnabas Arena in Toms River, New Jersey. This is a very important event where a lot of money is going to be raised for charity. Dine with us, Field of Dreams amongst the different charitable organizations. You're going to get a lot of money today from the Harlem Wizards, who are going to be in town to play a game today. I'm joined right now by longtime MMA fighter George Sullivan. I really want to tell you I appreciate you being part of the program today.
Thanks for having me.
And obviously glad to have you be part of this event. First of all, a little bit about like what got you into fighting and how you got started in the whole business.
So, troubled kid like most, was getting into some trouble, and then I got a little bit of this big fight, and then I started to go to martial arts in like the garage, little training here and there.
Yeah.
And then I was discovered in a parking lot by somebody. Funny enough, my girlfriend at the time cheated on me.
Okay.
And this guy overheard it. He's like, "Yo, you want to fight?" And I said, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
And then I was discovered from there. Went right into Muay Thai. Went to Virginia 2 months later. Fought. Got my whole face broken. I fought at heavyweight too, which is crazy because I fought at welterweight. And then that was my life. I was 19 years old, hooked on fighting. And then I went pro by the time I was 23. But I got that hook once I fought in front of a crowd. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
So,
Yeah.
so like from a like tactical standpoint, because you know you think of like MMA in general, you know, like I just think any sort of fighting. What were the things that you felt like were your strengths, and like what kind of interest?
So the first time I knew I could fight is when I fought somebody and it felt slow.
Yeah.
I felt so calm, so relaxed, no nerves, no hesitation. I just felt like normal.
Yeah.
And like that's when I actually said to my mom, I said, it's weird, every time I fight somebody, I get more comfortable because I was only 19,
Yeah.
20. Then by the time I became a man, when you start to overwhelm another human being and it becomes fun and you get hit, there's a funny smell you get if you get hit. It's like a bloody smell.
Yeah.
And it makes you go forward or it makes you go back. And real fighters, we go forward, we enjoy it, we smile. And I just love it. There's just something in me that drives me for that 1 versus 1, let's see who wins. It's not even about being the tougher person, I want to hurt you. I just like that competition. There's just nothing. I've played baseball, I've raced bikes, I've done so many sports. But when you have one person, you're locked in a cage, and it's like, who's getting out? It's just a different feeling.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, once again, we're joined by George Sullivan, and like I think of like Mike Tyson made a reference. He's like, you want to, everybody thinks they're tough till you get punched in the mouth.
It's the truth, though.
And I tell you, like from the fighting standpoint, there's no more literal sense of it.
Yeah.
So like obviously, there's so much more to it than just going up there, kicking somebody's ass and being able to handle some pain. There's a mental element of it. So from up here. Well, what's the most that you get out of it, and what's that perspective as you come into it?
I always get chills talking about this. I just got chills. Like for me, like the people that need to bark and act tough, those aren't the ones you have to worry about.
Yeah.
The ones you have to worry about are someone like me. You can't really tell I fight. My ears aren't that bad. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't walk into a room and try to be tough.
Yeah.
All of those guys are garbage. I don't care how tough they are. If you're not a registered professional fighter, I don't think you're tough.
Yeah.
I don't care. And it doesn't matter. You can try to be tough, but the mindset of you walking into a room and not trying to show people you're tough shows me that you have confidence.
Yeah. And I always thought about it like this: like, if you are that tough, what are you gonna declare it for?
And that's exactly the point. These guys that are like, I'm a fighter, I'm this, I'm that. No, you're not. You're a poser trying to be something that you're not.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning, I'd be more concerned about somebody that just kind of keeps it quiet to me.
Yeah.
That person.
They're the best
That
ones.
person ain't got to prove nothing.
They're just sitting over there smiling. Like that's why jiu-jitsu guys can be so dangerous because you don't know that they can grapple. Most of them just are hippie like looking guys, and then they'll submit you. But the ones that are trying to prove something, those aren't real athletes.
No.
And fighters are athletes. We're in the gym 24/7. I just retired. It was my life from 19, and I'm 42 now. So it's like, it's a lifestyle.
So from a fighting standpoint, if you were to, let's say, like, I don't know, I was interviewing you for a fight right now, and you were saying, this is my biggest strength. What type of fighting would be your best?
I was known for knocking people out. I was a silencer.
Okay.
So my strength was to get people, hold them and hurt them,
Okay.
or knock them out on their feet. And my other strength is I've only been TKO'd standing once.
Yeah.
30-something fights. I've only hit the ground once. So for me, I would say my chin and my ability to not get knocked out and then to knock people out was my strength. My weakness was I would get submitted because they would get my back. And I would want to knock them out so bad, and then I would forget about jiu-jitsu and get caught.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you get to the UFC and they're dangling $50,000 in front of you telling you to knock somebody out.
Yeah.
Go get that 50 grand. You're like, yeah, let's go. And it makes you forget you're an athlete. And then you start to think about, I want money, I want money. So I think my strength, most of my career was just to go for the knockout and stay with my strength. You know?
Yeah, so it kind of gets me into, like, you know, the whole submission thing, because I think, you know, you could be the strongest dude in the world, you could, you know, you could hit the hardest, but, you know, somebody gets you in the wrong position. Dude.
That's exactly what
that's
happened to me. That's exactly what happened to me. Like, I would be beating guys up. Like, I fought Nico Price, who was he got to 6th in the world. I put him in the hospital, but I gassed and my hands cramped. He took my back and took me out. Meanwhile, he went to the hospital. I had no marks on me.
Yeah.
So if you don't get that right game plan just for that split second, you lose.
And then you also have to know about the fighter. Who
Yeah,
you're going
exactly.
back. You got to know what
And
their strengths are.
I've been rolling jiu-jitsu for 22 years. It's not like I can't hold my own. The problem is when you're fighting, you kind of zone out to one thing. It's very difficult to remember wrestling, striking, grappling, your cardio, all these different things. Usually you tend to go one way.
Yeah.
And when you want that knockout, you want that extra money.
Of course you do.
And you forget about it. And it played into their cards several times for me.
Yeah, so last question. Once again, I'm joined
Yeah.
by George Sullivan. I appreciate you so much for being part of
Absolutely.
the program. So when you know, as a fighter, is there anybody in particular you look up to and you say, like, man, you know what, they did something a certain way, maybe I emulated some of what I learned?
You know, everybody knows who Robbie Lawler was. He was one of my favorite fighters. I loved him to death. I just liked him because he wanted to fight.
Yeah.
That was me. I never said no to fights. Every time they offered me a fight, I took it. There's two things I don't like. I don't like fighters that miss weight. I think it's weak. The only time I missed weight, I cut 42 pounds in 3 days because I took my friend's fight. I missed by half a pound. 43 pounds I did in 3 days.
Yeah, again, that's the key of just knowing what you are. Hey, if I'm
That
fighting
guy
in this
was
weight class,
grateful
that's what
that I
I'm
even
doing.
took the fight. Al
Yeah.
Buck, you're my boy, who I fought. But I don't like fighters who miss weight. I think they're lazy, and I think it's pathetic. And I don't like, so the fighters who miss weight, I absolutely can't stand. And it's just like, you have to just do the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's basically other than that, you know?
So I want to close it with this. Is there anybody fighting right now that you say, like, man, dude, I
Well,
like
John
I like
Jones
watching.
is the god.
Yeah.
John Jones he's built, he's got an 80-something inch reach. He got, his legs are
And then he's
skinny.
been doing
Don't
it for
matter.
so long,
But he
too.
doesn't lose.
Yeah.
His only loss is to an illegal elbow that was a north-south. Could have gone either way. So I think John Jones is the greatest MMA fighter ever to live. And I looked up to him. Tyson was my idol.
Yeah, I love Tyson when I was a kid, man.
Tyson and James Toney. Like, I fell in love with boxing, but there was no real boxing gyms in Brick. So I went to MMA because of my old team. But I would say, you know, like, John Jones is the greatest fighter ever to live. Boxers, no offense, you're not fighters, you're boxers.
Of course. Could
Could you outbox me? Absolutely. Could you out cage fight me? No. We're fighters, you're boxers, and that's just the only difference that I see in that. But I think greatest boxer for me was Tyson because of his knockouts. Was he the most technical? No, but my favorite. And John Jones, he's lost, 3 rounds in his career?
Yeah.
3 rounds? He doesn't
That's
lose
right.
anything.
I tell you, you lead me right into this, and I tell you, this is awesome because I love how you're able to just pick things up that are going on in my head. As a boxing fan when I was a kid, dude, I loved boxing. I would get whatever pay-per-view was on in the 80s
Yeah.
and the early 90s. And to me, the sport just got too corrupt. And it went to a point where it was the ultimate fighting sport.
Yeah.
And then basically its failure, and to me it was just basically malpractice, led to the emergence of basically every other mixed martial arts in the entirety of
I'm
UFC.
so glad you said that, because here's what I don't get. I fought in front of 18,000 people, 80-something million views on some of my fights.
Yeah.
Sold out arenas. You ever see some of these boxers making millions of dollars, but there's nobody in the crowd?
Yeah.
How is it possible that they can pay these boxers that much money and we get paid nothing compared to what
But
they
you-
do? But our shows sell more.
You
our
understand the exact
Our
reason.
pay-per-views are higher. But oh wait, they're making millions for nothing. I've never understood it.
It was the promoting. I mean, basically, that's
The sponsors
that
must-
corruption ended up
it's-
destroying the
it's-
sport.
It's corruption.
It was great for a while
very
because it brought so
naive-
much money.
Yeah, it's insane. It's a completely different, like 2 levels of money.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible because MMA gets more views, but boxing gets more money. That's why I don't blame the MMA fighters for going over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I tell you, like I said, I became more of an MMA fan in my adult years.
Yeah.
Just basically because
We all started
I
out.
got disappointed by what I was seeing. In
Yeah, and
boxing.
I still don't think that. Look at YouTube boxing now. Look, I take nothing away from Jake and Logan. They're doing a great thing.
And they
But
brand themselves well.
But boxing retired MMA fighters that are shot, it's just a bad look.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not against it because I love the fact that they're making money.
Yeah,
I love seeing
and
those
maybe
guys.
it's one of those things that they don't want to build themselves up for a big disappointment.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
you go up against somebody that's better than you.
Yeah.
There's a chance they might win.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone's giving these retired guys coming out of retirement crap. Listen, I'm a fighter. I didn't fight for 3 years. I just unretired and won a title 7 months ago and then retired again because I needed to fight.
Yeah.
Fighters need to compete. So I don't care if they're 50, 60, if they want to do it, let them do it for their own sake. It's their life, their legacy, let them do it. That's the only thing too. People are giving all these other guys get crap for coming out of retirement. I don't agree with that.
No, absolutely,
Yeah,
man.
so that's about it with me.
Yeah, listen, man, I appreciate you coming by, dude.
Yeah, thanks
Great
for
job.
having me, man. This is gonna be a great event.
Yeah,
Super
absolutely.
excited.
And then, yeah, if you got a couple minutes, anything about, that you're promoting or anything that's on your mind that you like to.
No, guys, we're doing, anybody who attends this, we're doing a free 30-minute private at my gym, Sullivan Kickboxing Academy, Toms River, New Jersey, on Fisher Boulevard. We're giving you 3 free classes and your choice of coach for a 30-minute private. Everybody who does this gets a gift, gets a chance to win a $100 gift card from Amazon. And we have some free shirts to give away. Everything that I'm doing for this event is free. Our time for our coaches, our daily, our fees to get into the gym, all waived. We just want to give away to the community, help everybody out here, and that's it. And thanks for everybody that came. And anybody who wants to take advantage of that promotion, come see me at the Sullivan Kickboxing Academy in Toms River.
All right, George, thanks a lot,
Thank you
man.
so much, guys. I
We'll talk
appreciate
soon.
it.
Appreciate
Take
it.
care.
All right, that was George Sullivan, recently retired MMA fighter, but as you hear from his own perspective, just came back and won a title. Jumping from here into baseball, I wanted to hit up on a couple different points, stuff going on in the world of sports. And like I said, if anything's on your mind, you could comment on the videos. Send me a freaking text at 732-513-5927. I don't even care. But, we were talking about the baseball general managers meetings as they're moving into the baseball winter meetings coming up pretty soon. And I think there's 2 different things to be very intrigued about. One of them is the vulnerability of one distinct team, while the other one has to do with actual trade leverage. And I'm going to start out by talking about the vulnerability of the Milwaukee Brewers right now, being in basically a sell down type of situation. Their payroll is a little bit too high for their liking. I'm pretty sure the owner came down a couple years ago and said, listen, this was coming. That led to David Stearns kind of reducing his position within the organization and eventually taking a job with the New York Mets. And you have that, and then obviously Craig Counsell, the manager, who was very much wanted back, taking a large contract offer from the Chicago Cubs to take over there. So you got those two things happening, which means that the idea of what the Brewers were looking to do was spoken well out there. And obviously the public understanding that Corbin Burns, Willie Adames, the recent decision to non-tender Brandon Woodruff, the trade of Mark Canha, who was only going to make, about $9.5 million if his option was picked up to the Detroit Tigers, puts the Brewers in a position where everybody in baseball is like, who am I going to pry off of that team? I'm going out there and I'm trying to trade for Corbin Burns. I'm going out there and I'm trying to make a trade for Willie Adames. And you know what? Devin Williams, your all-star closer, I'm going to see what I can do to get him. Because the Brewers look like they're in a position to make a move like this. And they're really one of the only teams in baseball that are set up this way. The Oakland Athletics have been taken apart. Every possible thing that exists from the Oakland Athletics, unless you want to go try to trade for a couple of their prospects, they don't have anything left to trade. Are the Brewers going into a deep rebuild? I got a fear that they might be. And this vulnerability is going to spark up ears. The antennas are going to go up for a guy like Brian Cashman, who I've talked about being the bully. He's basically the bully, the predator, the guy that Chris Hansen's going to come up and get, and obviously in a metaphorical sense, because he's looking to prey on the weak. He's looking to prey on the general manager that has to get rid of players, and he's going to offer you very little. And I think from a Yankees perspective, that's the one team you're hoping that Brian Cashman gets a chance to kind of raid a little bit. Because what have I said before in the PBS? Baseball's tired of Brian Cashman. Teams, other organizations are tired of his tactics. They're tired of the way he does business. I've heard specifically that there are individual Major League Baseball teams that will not do business with Brian Cashman and the Yankees. If the Yankees are going to make a trade to get themselves better, whether it's a Corbin Burns, whether it's a Willie Adames, whether it's a, let's say, a Devin Williams, it's going to be the Yankees that are going to kind of jump in and try to do the best they can with that. When it comes to trade leverage, like I said, the Brewers are on that one end of the spectrum where they don't have very much trade leverage. Everybody knows in baseball what they're looking to do right now. And that doesn't give them much leverage. I feel like a lot of other teams in baseball have leverage when it comes to trades. You look at the teams that are building themselves up right now, whether it's the Cincinnati Reds, but you can look back this past year, the Baltimore Orioles, the Arizona Diamondbacks getting themselves to the World Series. I'm looking at teams that are pretty much ready to win now, but have a ton of young talent. And they're not going to trade from that young talent to get themselves any sort of rentals. It makes it hard to do business with a team like that. You got young players that are up at the major league level. You're not really looking to trade anybody to get a veteran. So then you got a team like the Angels, a team like the Mets, and obviously we're talking about speculative possibilities that maybe a Mike Trout could get traded, maybe a Pete Alonso would get traded. And you got to look at it like this. There is very little leverage when it comes to the trading team, as opposed to the team that has the talent. We just spoke about the Brewers, and I'm talking about an owner that's come down and told David Stearns a couple of years ago he had to. That's why David Stearns got out. We're going to be reducing payroll drastically. Manager's gone. Same reason. He doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. The leverage is on the team that's trading with the Milwaukee Brewers. If the Mets are going to make a trade for Pete Alonso, if the Angels are going to make a trade involving Mike Trout, the leverage is on the team that has the player. And it's going to make it tough to make a trade. If, let's say, the Cubs are the one and Jesse Rogers is going to keep running with the story that he believes that somehow the Mets and Cubs are going to make a deal involving Pete Alonso, it's going to cost the Cubs a lot more than they're willing to give up. It's going to cost a Pete Crow Armstrong. It's going to cost a Javier Assad. It's going to be a lot more than just a Christopher Morel. And the same thing with the Angels. The Angels are under no situation where they're forced, under any circumstances, to have to deal Mike Trout. Mike Trout, from a financial standpoint, the owner could afford to pay him. They could afford to leave him in his career with the Angels for the rest of his time. The general public might not like it. You know, the public may say nobody's going out to watch Angel games, but I'll tell you this. People were watching Angels games when they were winning a World Series in 2002. In other words, They don't want to watch the Angels lose games. They want to watch the Angels win games. So if they build a winner, the fans will come out. The fans came out to Arizona, to the World Series, to Texas, to the World Series, because those teams were good enough to get there. When the Kansas City Royals won the World Series in 2015, when it got there a year before in 2014, the fans were filling the ballpark. That's what happens. Fans want to see a team win. There's no such thing as markets. Hey, they like to go to games. They don't like to go to games. Nobody wants to watch a loser. So if your team's losing, nobody's going to show up. The Angels will draw fans once they build a winner. People say, oh, well, the best way to build a winner is to trade Mike Trout. And this is where the Angels still hold the cards. If you want to make a deal for Mike Trout, the Angels, for no reason, would sell him for pennies on the dollar. So if you're the Dodgers, if you're the Giants, whatever team that maybe you're a fan of that says, we got a really good chance of making a trade for Mike Trout, think about what you'd be willing to part with. Because the Angels have the leverage. They don't have to make a deal. So today is the 18th day of November 2023, and the reason I bring that up is it's time for today's segment of Saving Sports History. So everything that happened that I'm about to talk about happened on the 18th day of November in sports history. We start out the year of 1949. Jackie Robinson wins the National League MVP, the only one he would win in his career. And I brought this up. 342 average, 960 OPS, 9.3 wins above replacement. Now in 1949, nobody gave a shit about wins above replacement. But to bring it up to today's standards, it's a pretty good season. 122 runs scored, 203 hits. Speaking of nobody giving a shit now, runs batted in, nobody cares about that. He had 124. 37 steals, 17 sacrifice bunts, all led the league. Now his 9.3 WAR was 1 percentage point or 1/10 of a point ahead of that of Stan Musial, who had a great season himself. 207 hits, led the league with a 438 on base percentage, 1.062 OPS, 128 runs scored, slugging percentage, he led the league in as well, 658, 36 home runs, 123 runs batted in, just one below Jackie Robinson. 9.2 wins above replacement. Ralph Kiner that year hit 54 home runs, drove in 127 runs, both led the league in OPS with a 1.089. So pretty good year for those three players, but as you bring it up so many years later, Jackie Robinson still had the best season. So all the changes in the standards that have been switched around when it comes to the most valuable player award and the voting process and what gets factored in, Jackie Robinson winning the MVP in 1949 still holds water. So we jump into the DeLorean, crank it up to 88 miles an hour, and jump 15 years ahead to 1964. Brooks Robinson wins the MVP of the American League. Reason I bring this up because, you say Brooks Robinson, a defensive specialist. First of 3 consecutive years, by the way, that Robinson finished 1, 2, or 3 in the AL MVP. Obviously known for his defense, he did have a couple really good offensive seasons. But you look at Brooks Robinson and you try to say, hey, did that similarly hold water? Mickey Mantle was good that season. Nobody else really had a season up there of Brooks Robinson. And from a wins above replacement standpoint, that season held up as well. Just 2 years later, the great Sandy Koufax retires. And if you look at that 6-year stretch from 1961 to 1966, 129 wins, just 47 losses at a time where wins mattered because pitchers finished games. He had a great run, 115 complete games, 35 shutouts during that time. Averaged 272 innings, 283 Ks a season, just 195 hits allowed and 69 walks, a whip of under 1 over that stretch. The greatest 6-season stretch of a pitcher in baseball history. 1970, Joe Frazier wins the now unified WBA, WBC, and the ring heavyweight titles, beating Bob Foster in a second round knockout. That's when he became heavyweight champion, is a precursor to the big fight with Muhammad Ali. And obviously, you know my feeling about boxing and boxing history. Johnny Bench that same day was named the National League MVP in 1970. 1979, Richard Petty became the first 7-time NASCAR Series champion. 1980, George Brett wins the American League MVP. Now that's the year that he had the .390 batting average. I throw a little cold water on it, even though it was a great accomplishment. Highest single season total batting average since Ted Williams, of course, in 1941. Something out of his control. He was hurt. He missed 45 games that season. That .390 batting average looks great if he played 150 games. Now, the 551 plate appearances he had, more than enough to qualify for the batting title. Excellent season, but I throw a little cold water on it because it would have been much better if it was a season he was able to stay healthy. Only 107 games played that year. 117 games played? So, disappointing from that perspective. Great moment in baseball history, but you remember the .390 batting average of George Brett in 1980, you gotta put the little asterisk. If you're gonna asterisk steroids, which I don't really care about the asterisks at all, but just throw all the details out there. Let us make the judgment for ourselves. .390 batting average, but in 117 games. On this day, Jack Tatum, one of the more hard-hitting, fierce defensive players to ever play in this game. I think it's a shame that he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Was born on this day in 1948. One of my heroes when it comes to pro football, Warren Moon. He's actually the reason that I became a football fan. The reason that I'm now a Tennessee Titans fan is because I was a Houston Oilers fan with Warren Moon and that run and shoot offense. Born on this day in 1956. Gary Sheffield, the guy that I believe should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, 509 career home runs. The last 10 or so were played for my beloved New York Mets. Born on this day in 1968. A guy that's in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. David Ortiz, dominating power hitter, one of the greatest postseason offensive position players to ever play in baseball. Born on this day in 1979. And Denny Hamlin, 3-time Daytona 500 winner, 16, 19, and 20, was born on this day in 1980. And Caleb Williams, the guy who's going to be the #1 overall pick in the next NFL draft. Who knows who he's going to be playing for? Maybe it's going to be the Chicago Bears. Who knows? Born on this day in 2001. In 1980, we lost one of the legends to the game of hockey. In fact, one of the awards that are out there very well bears his name. Conn Smythe died on this day in 1980, Hall of Fame owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, 8-time Stanley Cup champion. This is the Passball Show brought to you by JohnPielli.com, by St. Aloysius Church in Jackson, New Jersey, by Two Ways, One Passion Food Truck, located in Scranton, Pennsylvania. If you're interested in hearing me flap my yap mouth, you can check me out on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, videos on YouTube. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.
Chris Bryant was on the Chicago Cubs roster opening day.
I have many leather-bound books. My apartment smells of rich mahogany.
Why don't you give it all or a majority of it to the team that wins the freaking World Series?
I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on with my life.
I may come out as the biggest Major League Baseball manager apologist
That'll only make someone work just hard enough not to get fired.
because hitters are going out there saying I'm either going to hit a home run or I'm going to strike out. And if I don't get a pitch that I feel like I could drive out of the park,
I'm even supposed to be here today.
especially you prospect whores and hoarders, are going to be a little pissed off at me when I say this.
I'm just playing the dude disguises another dude.
There are only 2 managers in baseball's Hall of Fame who have losing records. One of them is the iconic Connie Mack, who you could say, in spite of winning 5 World Series championships as a manager, could be in as much as a pioneer. And what side of the spectrum they're on? Were they pitching? Were they batting? If your favorite team was pitching and a ball got inside and hit a batter, there's no way it could have been on purpose. But if you were a fan of the team that was batting and a ball got inside and hit somebody or went behind somebody's head, absolutely 100%, unequivocally, that pitcher was throwing out. They put their tail between their legs and decided they're going to do exactly what they're told. You damn well right. Better give him a contract extension. You damn well